Hello and welcome to the Up the Villa podcast. I'm in the hot seat today, so no one rinse me in the comments. If you are new to the channel, do subscribe. We're on the road to 9,000 subscribers now, which obviously is a massive number, and we appreciate every single one of you. And of course, as always, do get involved in the comments. This is a place to vent, a place to share opinions. Obviously, do it kindly, but we're all here for the same reason to talk about the Villa, so do get involved in the comments. Got Luke and Ryan here with me today. I'm sure you've had enough of Luke's face, so he's got me hosting this evening. We're here to preview our game against Fulham on Thursday evening. It's a bit of a nervy one, but we're here to sort of chew the fat and see how we feel against before that fixture on Thursday. So Sunday's game, you haven't heard my opinion on it. I think it's a very frustrating one. Once again, we're back in the same position where we are treading that tightrope, and you don't know how much longer we're going to be walking it before Mr. Gerrard does fall off. I think everyone kind of agreed it was one of our better performances. We always seem to turn up in those bigger games, so to speak. It's very frustrating that it takes a bigger opponent for us to sort of get ourselves into gear, but even that didn't prove fruitful. A 2-0 loss, and we don't even have an unbeaten run to sort of show for ourselves. It's all gone down the toilet. So I think, if we take that performance from the first half or the first hour against Chelsea, we could hopefully have an enjoyable Thursday evening. But I think at this point, I'm going to call on Ryan and get his thoughts on Sunday's game. And what did you think, Ryan? I don't think any of us are too happy.
No, same as you, Hannah. First half, yes, it was excitable. Actually enjoyed being in the Holt End. Second half, fell flat, and I was slumped in my seat in the Holt End. And I actually thought, like everybody else, the first half was good until I sort of woke up this morning and you reflect on it more, and we just come full cycle from last season. It's just missed opportunities, poor decision making, individual errors. It's boring, isn't it, guys? It's boring talking about the same thing over and over again. And it's a collective. This is a collective. I was thinking about it today, and Gerrard. Yes, he could have been more proactive on his subs. He doesn't like to change his tactic at all. He'd rather just change personnel. You went with 2 wingers out there, but it was still very narrow. It was still the same 4-3-3 system. All he's doing he's never changed system from day one. He just changed his personnel in different positions. The system never changes. He's got this system that he built at Rangers with the help of Beale, and that's it. The system never changes. You never see him tweak it or anything. You never see any in-game changes. It's just the same standard 4-3-3. We just, okay, McGinn ain't doing it. Let's throw Dendoncker there. Coutinho ain't doing it. Okay, let's try Buendia there. It's just repetitive, and it's just becoming painful now. It's becoming painful. The players now are falling back how there was 12 months ago, where individual errors are costing us game on game. Yes, Mings has been terrific all season, and mistakes happen. That header, he just tried to put too much on it and get it out, and it's unlucky. It's unlucky. It's a mistake. But up the other end, it's poor decision making. In that final third, when you're 1-on-1 with the keeper, yes, he's had an absolute worldie. Kepa. Oh my God! Typical. He just rocks up at Villa Park as an absolute world beater. And there were fantastic sides. The one from Ings was terrific. The one from Ramsey as well, I thought, was superb. But McGinn was there, virtually on the goal line, and you're never getting it in from that angle. And Ings is there, just lay it back. Them decision makings from the last game against Forest just not improving. The coaching as well, guys. Danks, what is he doing, man? Danks is our attacking coach. McPhee.
Invisible.
Yeah, you're just paying McPhee to be there. Recruitment as well. Chambers can't get on the pitch. Dendonka, we've seen a couple of 10 minutes here and there. Bedrenak, come on, 5 minutes when we got injured. Are they even Gerrard's players? Does he even want them? He obviously don't trust them because he won't throw them in. Clearly, the likes of Luca Dean and Coutinho, they are his boys. Carlos, Kamara, yes, you got to give him a bit of sympathy there because we have lost them players who could have been real big game changers for us. But that's football, isn't it? You gotta prepare for injuries, and that is a tough one. But even the board, you look at the board, man, they've raised expectations this season, saying we want Europe, we want top 8, your money's going up, we're putting this in place. So collectively, as a football club, everybody has got to take responsibility, and I feel like it's Groundhog Day, innit? I feel like we've wasted it a year. A year's just been wasted. I feel exactly how I felt this time last year, exactly the same. I felt that I was quite critical of Smith, like making in-game decisions and not knowing your strongest 11. And we've come that full cycle again. And this time last year, when Luke, we was off to Southampton away on that Friday night, and I'm going Fulham on Thursday, and I'm just getting the same vibes, man. I'm just getting the same vibes. It's going to be a slog. It's going to be a slog to get to Fulham on Thursday. It's good. We're going to have a nightmare of a night, and it's going to be a slog to come home. Just not feeling very optimistic about Aston Villa at the minute.
Yeah, I think we're at that point where I think we've mentioned the last couple of games now where you're kind of losing that spark about going to the game. And as much as, it's normally the highlight of the week, it's now it does, first of all, a bit of a chore, and it's the same stuff every week. It's repetitive, and it's like we always say, it's the first sign of insanity, of just not making a change. And yeah, don't know if you've got anything else to add, Luke, but for me, I think the thing that drove me mad on Sunday was the fact that we had we've got 5 substitutions now, which, yes, you can argue favours the big teams, but got 5 subs, 3 in-game opportunities to use them. And why are we bringing on Coutinho 1 minute and a couple of minutes later Dendonka? To me, that screams that he doesn't trust enough of his bench to use all 5 substitutes.
Yeah, I feel like I've said enough on that game now. But everything you both said, like when Ryan was just going through, like ticking everything off, like the players, the manager, the board, the whole optimism of what we had going into this season. Every Villa fan was absolutely buzzing for it. Now, in the space of 11 games, it sucked the life out of the whole fan base. So it now does feel like Groundhog Day when you go into that game. Ryan said he slumped on his seat. I was looking around, like when some fans were chanting they want Gerrard out, and it was literally like Villa fans are like just chilling in the chair like this, thinking
that was me.
I can't even be asked to say anything, and I was just like looking around, thinking, it's this is like meant to be like an exciting season where we're going on the back of what's going to be coming towards the end of next season, like the new stadium. We wanted the manager wanted us to get 7th, the ownership, and it does just feel like it's just starting to like crumble, and it's starting to like fall apart in every area that you mentioned, Ryan. It just feels like that there's slight flaws in everything, like some of the signings that we've made, like Bednarak, Dendonka, letting the wingers go, where now we're playing with the wingers. The last game we played with wingers, but we've got no wingers to come on. So we're bringing on, like Hannah's saying, we're having to bring on like Coutinho and Brendir, and it's just really not working. And that's one of the main things that I'd say is that, I'm an advocate of saying for him to change the system, but change the system in a way that I feel like next game it can work, and the game after that it could work. I don't want to see just this game something, then next game it's something totally different, and then just because Watkins didn't work out wide, we're going to put him now back up front, and then Ings is going to come out, and if, in my opinion now, Danny Ings has got to start the next game. We've got to give Ings some minutes now to even build on the game he had. I know he didn't score, but he was getting in the right areas. He was having certain chances, but we can't keep chopping and changing and just trying to think that light bulb moment of, oh shit, that worked today. Should we just
Magic
stick
moment
that all season? So yeah, that's just my thought process where I'm at. I'm sure we're going to get onto it now that it's a massive, massive week for Aston Villa.
Well, I think we all agreed, didn't we, in pre-season when we was making our predictions. We all went about 8th, 9th, 7th, didn't we, between us all? But we sort of agreed that for us to have a successful season, our signings had to bed in quickly, hit the ground running. That's gone tits up. And then our players that we've got now have got to be coached better. And that's not working, is it? These players, they're not getting any better, are they? They're not getting any better. No one's really made an improvement this season.
And I said this on a couple of episodes ago that our players tend to revert back to type. Now, the majority of the players that are on this pitch at the moment are the players that let Dean Smith down in exactly the same position that we were in last season.
Yeah. And where did they come from? The Championship.
So it's okay blaming Gerrard, and I do think a lot of the blame lies on the system and whatever. But for whatever reason, like you said, Ryan, the players need coaching better to get us to a level of performance where if we have got a couple of injuries, we can still get results and we can still achieve the goals that we're trying to achieve. But for me at the minute, it just feels like heads are down, we're feeling sorry for ourselves, and in the end, something's got to give. And
why was Konza signed? Why was Cash signed? Why was Watkins signed? Because they were signed because there was up-and-coming players. We're plucking them from the Championship, and Dean Smith's words and the words from the board and the recruitment team was, we will coach these players to be better players. They are coachable to be better players. And since Smith left, there hasn't really been any coaching going on. You cannot see any significant improvement. So and they're the players that are on the pitch at the minute, aren't they?
And this whole new management change, if it comes, we don't need a manager. We need a coach. That is what we need. Somebody to coach these players to make them better than what they are at the minute, because they do need that. They do need the development. Some of them are still young enough to be able to develop and get better. But it goes back to we need a system, a culture, and a philosophy at Villa that filters down to youth level as well. And I think that's majorly important as well, because what I'm seeing at the minute is just game on game. Let's try this. Let's try this formation. Let's put him out wide. Let's bring him back. He hasn't played for 6 or 7 games, and let's hope that he can be the answer. Because, bringing Danny Ings in, he's hardly played. He's hardly played any games this season, and he now needs a run of games in the team. And it kind of, I'll hold my hands up that in the summer I was saying I don't think we needed to sign a striker, because I felt like we were going to give Archer a massive run of games. But now it's looking like an absolute ridiculous decision if they knew Archer had this niggling injury in pre-season to not sign a striker, because that looks ridiculous now. Because if he had that niggle and you knew he needed this bit of surgery in pre-season or in the close season, then it just looks ridiculous. So I hope that it wasn't the case.
I was in the same boat. We had many conversations amongst us about should we be signing another striker. I completely was like, I don't think we need it. It's always a nice to have, but I was like, do we need one? We've got Danny Ings, who really has always been known as a pretty decent Premier League striker, very good at times. We had Ollie Watkins, who has scored double digits in the Premier League, and we've always felt has the potential to be a very well-rounded player. And like you mentioned, we had Cameron Archer coming through, and the whole reason we thought he was being kept within our first team squad was to get minutes. Now, yes, we now know he's got this little injury, but I'm sitting there thinking, right, if he's fit enough to be on the bench, can we not even get in some minutes from the bench? It's like, so now we're essentially playing with two strikers. If we're not going to utilise Archer at all, which, how many minutes has he played this season? Less than 60, surely. What? We've got two strikers. All it takes, I mean, at the minute they're not scoring, but all it takes is for one of them to get injured, and then what on earth are we doing? So, looking back now, I think we were very silly not to sign a striker. I don't know what you think, Ryan.
Yes, looking like it now. Obviously, we just hoped that Ings and Watkins would just get it together and we'd find a formula to get the best out of them. But still, 12 months down the line since Ings come in, we haven't found a way of getting the best out of either of them. So, yeah, it is looking like a poor decision. Even just getting someone in on loan. And I remember Justin saying, like, next season was like the big one for a big striker, you know, a big money foreign striker, you know, someone from abroad, possibly like the big pull. But yeah, it does feel now with the guys off form with Archer injured, we've sold ourselves short.
Maybe get Justin on a pay-as-you-play basis.
Mate, I'd sign him up, man. He was a beast. He was absolute. I ain't seen a beast performance like that since Benteke left, mate.
Proper number 9.
He was an animal, man.
Number 9.
Mate, if he was under pressure on that ball, you just long ball it to Justin and you're retaining possession, mate. You couldn't. He's a battering ram.
You didn't even have that like versatile like Niall Quinn and Phillips or Crouch and Owen. Do you know what I mean? You could even have a little runner running off him.
Hindsight,
mate, and he can pull out a knee slide as well. He can pull out a knee slide as well. So he's got it all. He's got the whole package, man.
Indeed, he is the full package. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. We can say all this now. We thought we were going to get 7th or 8th. We're past that now. What we're not past is Thursday night. We will segue into that now. As we've mentioned, it's a massive game, and we've been saying that for the last however many weeks. But this time, with the news coming out today, we're going to plug an episode Luke has put out already on possible rumours about a certain someone who we may be approaching. But, you know, the more that these rumours start cropping up and the players and the manager are going to see these, it sort of becomes even more real that we really are sort of approaching crisis stage now. So approaching Thursday's game, it is a must-win, an absolute must-win. I feel like even with a good performance and a loss, no chance we have to beat Fulham. And yeah, I think even if we were to win and perform poorly, we're still sort of in this same position because really we should be beating Fulham comfortably. They're not in a great run of form. They have a few decent players, but for the most part, if you put our squad man to man with theirs, you'd like to think that we can outshine them on the pitch. And looking at the fixtures ahead after that, obviously we've got a quick turnaround. We've got Brentford on Sunday, but then it doesn't get any easier. We've got Newcastle, 2 games against United and Brighton as well. So for me, we absolutely have to be winning on Thursday, and it has to be a comfortable win. I think we've got to get our shooting boots on. If we're not going to score on Thursday, I am extremely concerned that, you know, they have their target man, which is Mitrovic. I feel like everyone will flag them as the man to watch. So we know that we've got to be shored up at the back. We can't be, you know, making silly defensive errors like we did at the weekend. But the real focus once again will be on our front line. Can they turn it around? Can we really, do we make changes? Do we stick with it because we saw some signs on Sunday? I'm not sure what we do. I think at this point, because we got a decent performance for a chunk of the game on Sunday, and because we need to find this best 11, personally, I think we stick with the shape that we went for. I think we like Luke and Ryan, you've mentioned there's too much chopping and changing. There's too much uncertainty. One thing we need going into a game against a team like Fulham, who we should be beating, is just a bit of a settled squad, some consistency. Because you go in and you change it all again on Thursday, and it's like, well, what was the point? It just feels so pointless otherwise. So for me, I'm going with the same formation, and I think the key will be how on earth do we get our strikers firing? Luke, I'm going to pass to you now and see, are we keeping it the same? What is the key thing, do you think, for us on Thursday that will get us 3 points?
I'd say application would be the first thing that's going to be important, because come Thursday, after Wolves have played or Southampton have played, we could possibly be in the bottom three on Thursday going into this game, which in itself puts another magnitude on it. So obviously we've recorded this before the game, so we don't really know what's going to happen there, but the application would have to be right. And there'd have to be a determination, a hunger, a desire. I know I looked at Fulham and I was thinking about it earlier, and I thought this is going to be a real tough game, and I think it will be, because our record is terrible there. Their start of the season, they drew to Liverpool, drew to Wolves, beat Brentford, got off to a fantastic start, and then they've sort of like their last 3 games, lost to Newcastle, lost to West Ham, and drew to Bournemouth. So they're not in the greatest of form now, are they? So, I'm not going to say they're there for the taking, but we should be putting a decent performance in based on what I expect from a Villa side. And I don't really want to, look at any game now and start thinking, oh, shit, we're just a relegation team. Like, we shouldn't be beating Fulham. I feel like we should. I feel like we're Aston Villa. Like, we shouldn't be 16th. We've got to start like earning the right now and just doing what's expected of us. No more excuses. No more heads down. Create the amount of chances that we did create the other day, and we've got to take them. And that's basically it, really. I mean, you could replay every match preview, couldn't you? What we've done so far this season, and we're saying this. We're saying the same thing. But, it will be a pressure game. It'll be a pressure game for Gerrard. It'll be a pressure game because the media are on him now, aren't they? It's not just the fans. It was, he'd probably look at it saying, a couple of disgruntled fans here and there. I can deal with that. But now we know what he's like in them pressers. He don't like certain questions. And now all the questions are going to be, what do you make of this? What are you going to do to turn this around? Are you going to play him? Are you going to do that? Are you being questioned? I mean, imagine if someone asked him about Pochettino. He's probably going to nut him. Do you know what I mean? The way he's been reacting, you can't even ask him if he play at Cameron Archer. Do you know what I mean? No one asked him about Pochettino.
No, I think that's part of the issue, though, isn't it? Now, like I mentioned earlier, you've got a whole new layer of pressure because everyone at Bodymore Heath will see that Telegraph article talking about Pochettino. All of them, down to the kit man, all of them will see it, and immediately. Before it was just a few fans, but now they're all.
It'll be in that group chat, won't it?
Yeah, they'll be pinging it around. They'll be like, "Oh, what do you think of this?" Yeah, but it's just. So with that extra pressure, it's like that needs to play into our favour, doesn't it? We don't work well under pressure. It feels like, but it feels that we always slip up against these like sort of newly promoted teams. They're in a bit of a bad run. Look at Forest, for God's sake. It's a prime example of this exact fixture where we seem to slip up. So, yeah, the heads need to be lifted. We've got to be mentality monsters. We need these players to fight for their shirt because I don't care what they think of the manager, whether they want him gone or they want him to stay. They should be playing for their own career. They need to play for their shirt. And we just need no heads to be dropping because after that second goal against Chelsea, it was visible. We seemed to crumble and we can't have that mentality because up until that point, we hadn't lost in 4 games. So it's not like they should have no confidence. We've been picking up points and whilst the performances haven't been good, and particularly for the strikers, they've not been scoring. There's no reason that they should be completely down in the dumps. We've got to have that bit of an uplift, which I suppose is why we wanted Archer at the weekend, for that bit of an uplift and the crowd can get involved. We're away on Thursday. It's not a pleasant trip. And if the away fans aren't backing you, then there's something seriously wrong. talking of away fans, Ryan, you're making the trip. Your thoughts really, and how do we get these players performing, and what is the key here in this fixture that Gerrard can do? Because as much as we talk about what the players need to be doing, what are we expecting from Steven Gerrard this week?
Personally, I think when you lose a game, you've got to look at that game and take the positives out of that and take it into the next game. Now, the positives from Chelsea was a bit more pace up top, a little bit more width when we were attacking. When we was defending, we was very, very narrow, but attacking-wise, we played a bit more wider, which introduced McGinn and Ramsey into the middle, because you got to get up and support when there's nobody there. And they were lining up on the edge of the box most of that first half. So all that attacking play and all them chances we created, we've got to take that from the Chelsea game and from the off against Fulham, apply that straight away. You've got to take the confidence out of all them chances we created. Yes, we didn't put them away, but we created them, and it's gonna fall sooner or later. We can't keep missing this many chances, and sometimes you just feel once one goes in, the floodgates could open. We could score 2 or 3. Fulham, though, I am making the trip down to Fulham. It was one of them grounds that I've always wanted to go to. Just, I think it's quite a quirky ground. It's an old school ground, bit of character about it, and there's always been something on when I wanted to go. But our record is poor there, so I'm not expecting much. And to be honest, I looked at Fulham. They're 11th or 12th in the league, and their home form is not bad. It's not bad. They beat Liverpool and Brentford and Brighton. I think they only lost 1, and that was to Newcastle when they was down to 10 men after about 5-10 minutes. So at home on a Thursday night under the lights, it's a very tough game. But like I say, we've just got to take them positives. I think it's a must. It's a must for me that front three stays the same. I don't want to see it changing again. I don't want to see Watkins up top, Ings back out, Coutinho back in, Bailey keep his. I'm fed up of that. I'm bored of it. Let the 3 of them try and build a relationship, try and build some momentum, try and build a flipping goal. You know what I mean? Just try anything, man. But just keep them the same. I think it's gotta stay the same. Please, Steven.
Please. You can argue that it might be part of the problem with our attacking line this season is that we've just had so many personnel changes.
Hannah, we change it every game, H. Every game we change it.
I know, and I feel like we've again, it's repeating conversations, but we don't know our best 11, or perhaps we think we do, but the manager doesn't, and vice versa. We constantly chop and change it, which sometimes you can get away with, but other times it's glaringly obvious that there's just not that synergy, and there's not that, so and so doesn't know the pass is going to come in and it hits it's easily intercepted just because they're not reading each other, and we can see it sitting up in the stands, but I don't know if it's communication or what, but yeah, you feel like it needs to stay the same, and we need to start building up that little run of because Gerrard clearly wants to play these players into form. That's why he hasn't dropped Watkins throughout this whole sort of period of him, a dry spell. He clearly wants to play players into form, but at the point where you kind of feel like things might be working and certain things should stay the same, it'll change again. I mean, it's predictable when you know that Bailey's going to come off for Buendia, or Coutinho is going to come off for Buendia, and McGinn is now suddenly always going to come off for Dendoncker, and it's like it's so predictable, and we're not seeming to learn from any of the mistakes, and that I suppose that's why it's really frustrating for the fans.
And this chopping and changing of the front 3, look at this poor decision making in the box, the cutbacks, the taking shots on when you can lay it off. It's because people don't know Ings' runs or don't know where Watkins is going to be, because it's chopping and changing every week. If you're in that box and Ings is going to pull back onto that 6-yard box, you can, not even looking up, you can lay that ball across. But one day it's Ings, the next day it's Watkins, then it's Coutinho, then Buendia. There's not time to to build and know each other. Do you know what I mean? I know they're training, but what it looks to me, all they do is training is smash balls into an empty net. So, just keep it the same, man. It's winding me up, man. It's winding me up. I'm rattled. I am rattled.
Do you know what's so funny when a Villa fan talks now? It's every Villa fan does it. They start off like really like enthusiastic, and then when they finish the sentence, it's like, I've had enough, man.
Yeah.
It feels like that, and it felt like that on Sunday. It was quite sad, really, that especially once the second goal went in, it was very flat, wasn't it? And Luke's touched on this, so we don't need to go into it too much. But we just need that lift. And Ryan, you've said just that one goal. I do agree. Like, I feel like if we can just have a game where we can score 1 or 2 goals, keep a clean sheet, 3 points, especially on the road, would do wonders.
Now, I'd actually take a moment of magic.
We need a moment of magic.
I'll tell you what, talking about being rattled, the word moment at the minute is grinding bad on me.
I need a trigger warning for that word.
I cannot stand it. At the minute. It's grinding me down, man. It's grinding me down.
Yeah.
But talking about goals, I haven't, properly celebrated a goal this season, like with proper joy, proper happiness. I just, even 2-0 up against Everton, I just don't know. I just haven't felt any vibe all season. It's just like, and that's, a lot of people talk about the connection and stuff like that with the team and the players, and that connection there. That's where I'm feeling it. I'm just not feeling it. You know what I mean? This season, so hopefully go down to Fulham, last minute goal. I definitely feel that. I feel that all right. So. Last minute
that
winner.
Would be lovely.
Yeah.
For all of us sat watching at home, biting our nails, and for all of you that are making the trip down on Thursday evening, all we want is 3 points and a goal. We just want to watch Villa score a goal. It would be lovely. So speaking of goals, I think it's probably a good time to do our score predictions. So I will do mine. I've got to be a bit positive. I feel like I've moaned a lot. Don't like to moan. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Villa win. We haven't scored in ages, and I'm going for a 2-0 win. What is she on? It must be the pressure of being in the hot seat this evening. I think we're going to score. I think once we score 1, we'll get another, and we're going to keep a clean sheet. Don't ask me who's going to score it. It could be 2 own goals at this point. And as long as we get the 3 points and a win, we've got to take it, because if we don't win on Thursday, I'm quite scared for what will happen. So, Luke, what do you think? Are we going to have a 5-0 Justin masterclass, or is it going to be a bit more nervy than that?
No, I am going to go with a 1-1.
Oh God!
I just think standard Villa fashion. I think it's going to be a tough week, and I've said it before. The way I see it going, I think we'll get the draw, and I think it'll be all on Brentford, and that's how I see it going. So I'm going to go with a 1-1.
Oh, it's nervy, squeaky bum. Ryan, what do you think?
Ryan, what does Ryan think? Ryan thinks that Mitrovic is going to score as a standard. That's just obvious. That's going to happen. So my heart is saying it all comes together. We win 3-1. That's what my heart's saying. My head is saying possibly 1-0 Fulham, but let's go with the heart every time. Let's have a 3-1 win. I'm going to lump a fiver on it.
We follow the heart. That's where Villa lies. So that'll do. Yeah, we are
blindly optimistic. That's what you need to do.
We come on here every week. We are deluded. Talking about Villa this much, send anyone crazy, right? That'll do, I think, everyone. Villa fans, let us know how you're feeling ahead of the Fulham game on Thursday. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let us know your score predictions as well. We'll be back at some point with, I guess, a predicted lineup or something of that variety. But in the meantime, fingers crossed, keep the faith, up the Villa.
Up the Villa.